Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. We're going to be looking at general training task 1 letter, and we'll be looking at an informal letter today. Basically, we're running this class. I've got a number of my students here, and we're going to walk through all the different steps that we need to complete this task 1 letter. And then we'll be having a look at their ideas, their sentences, and correcting any key mistakes as we go along. So with that all said, first thing we want to think about, so obviously I already mentioned that this is an informal letter, but it's very, very important to decide if it's informal or formal. Don't have to worry about semi-formal letter writing. There's only 2 things we're deciding between. It's informal or formal in task 1. And to my students, how do we do this? How do we decide if it's informal or not? There's one very easy way to check. Yeah, Trina says friend. It's who you're writing to. It's very simple. If it says you are writing to a friend, it's informal. All other letters are formal. It doesn't matter if it says you're writing to your neighbors. If you're writing to a friend, it's informal. Everyone else is formal. Okay, so easy to remember that. And once we know if it's formal or informal, it's really important that we have what we call the correct tone. So we've got to make sure that the language we are using is consistent with the type of letter. So if we have an informal letter, we need to be using informal language, and we need to be using contractions. So contractions, let me give you some examples. Move my chat box out of the way. So maybe I will would be I'll. Sure enough, to say, yeah, I have. So we have these are my separate. This mentioned, yeah. So this is I would. This one is often missed out. People really often miss this. So obviously this one would be well. Have sometimes can be a bit tricky. So remember, we're only doing this, and the important thing here is we contract pronouns with auxiliary verbs. So what does an auxiliary verb mean? Navita says it's not the main verb. Yeah, exactly. So it's a verb that you add into usually to create a tense. So do something over. He will go. So here we're making a prediction about the future. What is the auxiliary verb here? So remember, not the main verb. So the main verb is go. This is the action that he is going to do. So the auxiliary verb is the tense verb, the verb that's showing when he will go. So this is our auxiliary verb here. So he will go. So here, the rule was we contract pronouns with auxiliary verbs. So we've got a pronoun, he. We have an auxiliary verb. So in this instance, he'll go. Let's say so in this expression, she would like. What is the auxiliary verb? Excellent, yeah. So we're saying we've got would. So this is what we contract. And like is our main verb. Now, as I said, have is a bit strange because have quite often is a main verb. So let's have a look at two sentences. In which sentence? One or two is have an auxiliary verb? Yeah, Lucy and Nabila all say two. Excellent. So yeah, here we see have is the extra verb. It's showing that it's a perfect tense. So following our rule, we contract pronouns with auxiliary verbs. So here I was saying, I've eaten lunch. But here, there is no auxiliary verb. Have is the main verb. So can I contract a main verb? No. So it would be incorrect to write this. I've lunch. Doesn't make sense. So I have lunch. Here, no contraction because it's a main verb. But when have is an auxiliary verb, we contract. How about this one? So this comes up quite a lot. Is have here the auxiliary verb? No. So in this expression, have to, when you're showing obligation, we don't contract. So remember this. So I would never write I've to eat. So this would be incorrect. Because it's not acting as an auxiliary verb here. It's acting more as a modal verb. So it's showing that there is obligation to eat. So it's only when have is being used as an auxiliary verb that we contract it. Okay, and then informal language. So we will have a look at this as we go along, but we don't want to be overly formal. When in English we're speaking informally, do we tend to use short forms, or do we explain things in a long way? So what is more formal? Yes, Lucy says short. So we're trying to be short and informal. So generally when you're being very descriptive and you're speaking a long way, it's a bit more formal. So we want to be using shorter words, shorter expressions, and not trying to show off with our language too much because it's going to end up sounding a bit too formal. So just the way you would speak to a friend. The tone, as I said, is very important because if we have any inconsistency, so let's say we make one mistake, we forget to make one contraction, that means our tone is inconsistent. And that means for task response, the absolute maximum we get is band 6. If there's a lot of inconsistency, then the maximum we're going to get for task response is band 5. So really important to know, A, is it informal and is it formal? And we do that by deciding, is the letter written to a friend or someone else? And if it's written to a friend, we have to be contracting and we have to be using informal language. Okay. Looking at structure, all general training task 1 letters have exactly the same structure. We're going to have a greeting. We're going to have a purpose statement where we paraphrase key information from the question statement. We have 3 bullet point paragraphs. And if you have a look, I'll quickly show you in a question. So these are the bullet point paragraphs. They are answering these, what we call bullet points. Okay, so we're going to have a paragraph for each of these. Sorry, where are we? Getting lost. A paragraph for each of the bullet points, a purpose statement, a greeting, a sign-off, and your name. Your bullet point paragraphs are minimum of 45 words. I normally tell you the word count is not that important in your IELTS. For general training task 1, it is important. None of your paragraphs want to be under 45 words. Otherwise, they're underdeveloped. If your paragraphs are underdeveloped, you can't get over about 6 task response. So what I'll often see is students will be like, oh, I'm going to write 70 words for paragraph 1, 70 words for paragraph 2, 20 words for paragraph 3. No, 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 don't do that. All of your paragraphs need to be between 45 and 55. Why do we not want to go over 55? Yeah, Jonathan says no time, exactly. So you're not going to lose marks for writing 60 words or 70 words, but you don't have to write more than 55 words or more than 50 words, really. So you're doing something you don't have to do in an exam when you don't have a lot of time. We don't want to do things that we don't have to do. For our sign-off, is there a sign-off I can use in formal and informal letters all the time? Fiona says, kind regards, exactly. There are all types of sign-offs. I'm not going to say they're wrong, but you can use this for everyone. It's easy. I strongly recommend using kind regards. Okay, because it can be used for formal and informal letters. We do not capitalize the second word. So it's just capital comes here, kind regards. The comma comes if you have a comma after your greeting. So maybe you have dear Annie. Normally in your writing task 1, they will tell you how to start. They will say, start your letter with dear, blah, 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 comma. So if you're told to start like this and you have a comma, make sure there is a comma after this kind regards. Then our name. So informal letters, how do we sign off? Yeah, David, basically a first name. So something like this. Pick an easy name. Obviously, you can use your own name, but if you want to be using an English name, just pick a really simple name. Doesn't matter. But for formal letters, how would we sign off? Full name, exactly. David Smith. Something like this. Okay, so David Smith, Annie Jones. Again, this is going to affect your tone. If you sign off an informal letter with your full name, even if the rest of your essay or letter is perfect, you can't get over a band 6 for task response. If you sign off a formal letter with only your first name, you're not getting over a band 6 for task response. So really, really important that you remember this. Up to you if you want to use English names, your own name, but just remember, first name for informal letters, and for formal letters, your full name, and get the capitalization right. Okay. So today's question we have here, as I said, it is an informal letter. You are going to throw a party and would like to cook a special dish for your guests, but do not have a recipe. Write a letter to your friend. In your letter, Tell your friend why you are having a party, explain what dish you want to cook, and ask your friend for the recipe and invite your friend to the party. So the area that we know that it is an informal letter is here. It says friend. Okay, as soon as we see that, we know it's informal. So how are we going to start? First step we've already done. How are we going to start our greeting? So we're talking to a friend. Yeah. Dear John, dear Anne, choose a name. And that's all we need to do. It's informal. Again, we're only writing to their first name. So choose a first name that you're comfortable with. Dear, and we've got a comma. Okay, it's that simple. And then what comes next? So we've got our greeting. What is the first part of the actual writing? Brilliant. Purpose. So this is our question statement. You are going to throw a party and would like to cook a special dish for your guests. You don't have a recipe. In our purpose statement, we need to include all the key information. So it's a bit like a paraphrase. It's not exactly a paraphrase because I'm not going to say you are going to and then paraphrase it, but you need to say that I basically am going to throw a party, and then we're going to paraphrase this information. What is the really key information? If we look at this, what do we need to be mentioning? Yeah, you're going to cook or cook a special dish. That's definitely something very important here. Aha, yeah, Lucy says, need a recipe. Yeah, that part's very important. I would say there's one other really important thing that I need to put in here. Lucy, excellent, yeah. We're throwing a party. Okay. So don't worry about, so Lucy said party invitation. So definitely when we come to look at the question, where is it? So we're going to invite your friend, but we don't need to worry about our bullet points when we're doing our purpose statement. You're only looking at the question statement here. Okay, so you don't need to summarize these. You're only summarizing the key information here. So here, these are definitely the three things. We've got throw a party, cook a special dish, and you don't have a recipe. So these need to be in our purpose statement. Sometimes you will see in the question statements, you'll have two sentences. You're going to have to include all of the information in your question statements. So don't just, a common mistake with purpose statements is students will paraphrase, for example, this, and then they'll forget about the extra information in the next sentence. So all of your purpose statement needs to cover all of the question statement. Fortunately, here we only have one sentence. So I'm going to throw this over to my students to see how they would go about this. So if you're writing this at home, we want to be showing the purpose of the letter. So always remember, you should be writing this to the person. So if you're writing to a friend, how would you write this information to a friend? Don't think you're writing to an examiner. Think you're writing to a friend. So if you wrote this information to a friend, you want to tell them about a party, you're cooking a special dish, and you don't have a recipe. So obviously it's going to take my students a couple of minutes to come up with some purpose statements. If you're watching this on YouTube, do this at home. Don't just watch the videos, make sure you're participating along with them, and then we can see how your purpose statements come out, and if you're covering the areas I will look at when we come to my students' sentences. Okay, so everybody that has a purpose statement here. Excellent. We'll have a look at this. So this is really nice. This is a very common way of starting our letters. I'm just writing this letter to let you know. So this, we're going to have different types of letters. Sometimes we're going to be informing someone. Sometimes we're going to be asking someone. If you're informing, this is great. I'm just writing this letter to let you know that. And then we're going to have a clause. Subject, verb, party, subject, verb, object. So I'm writing this letter to let you know that I'm going to throw a party. Good. What would be like a synonym to throw a party? So we can vary the language a bit. We don't celebrate a party. We celebrate something at a party, but we don't celebrate. Trying to have exactly, yeah. So this would be a really nice synonym here. I'm writing this letter to let you know I'm going to have a party, and I'd like to cook. Really good contractions here. I would, I am, so good use of contractions. And I'd like to cook a special dish for my guests, but I don't have the recipe. Here I would say it's a little bit similar. So here we've got cook a special dish for your guests, cook a special dish for my guests. How could I change this? So Nabila says maybe we could have prepare. Yeah. I like to prepare a special dish. Do I need to mention for my guests? So no. So again, this is somewhere we could maybe get rid of this. So I'd like to prepare a special dish. I don't have the recipe. Rather than don't have the recipe, what could we use here instead of have? Sure enough, excellent. Yeah, don't know the recipe. So trying to use a few synonyms here. We don't want to have too much the same as here. So if possible, find synonyms. That said, if you do not know a synonym, use the original word. Okay, so only use language that you're 100% sure of. Much better to take the original word than it is to use synonyms you're not sure of. Okay, so here we've got a good purpose statement. Lucy, Trinath, would you like me to have a look at your purpose statements? Sure, take your time, don't rush. So Lucy asked, is the invitation missing? So definitely in the question, it talks about an invitation, but if we look at this question, the question statement, is there any invitation in the question statement, Lucy? No. Okay, so if the invitation is not in the question statement, we don't need to write it in our purpose statement. So we're just paraphrasing the key information from here. We're not having to summarize what's in the bullet points, okay? Okay, so we've got one here from Pronouns. He says, I'm just writing this letter to ask you about a chicken biryani recipe that you prepared on my birthday. And I'd like to cook this special dish for guests. Okay, so here, this is nice. This time we're dealing with asking. So the first one was informing. This is asking. I'm just writing this letter to ask you about, that's good. This recipe, is it one specific recipe? So what article should we have for something that's specific? Exactly, about the chicken biryani recipe that you prepared on my birthday. And I'd like to cook this. So this is showing addition, but I would say we're doing this for a reason. So if I want to show a reason, I wouldn't use and. What would be the more natural conjunction? Aha, it'd be like yes, because. And then we don't need a comma before because. Okay, let's see. Have we covered everything? So we're asking about a recipe. Yep, I don't have a recipe. I want to cook this for guests. Is there something missing here? The party. Yeah, we need to mention the party. So we can maybe put this at the end because I'd like to cook this special dish for a guest. For I guess party. Now we've covered everything. Okay. Who was asking this? Nabila, do we need to put the here? So I'd like to get this special dish for guests at the party I'm having. I would say, so the zero article is possible. I think maybe a little bit better is my guess. To show that the guests belong to you rather than the article. Could we use it, the guests? Yeah, I think so, because I'd like to pick the special dish for the guests. So this would work. It's possible. I'm going to put it in brackets. It's a possibility, but you don't have to use it. But I think maybe my would be a little bit more natural here. Lucy, do you have a purpose statement for me? Excellent. I'm just writing to let you know that I'm going to have a party. Good. And I'd like to prepare a dish, but I don't have a recipe. Yep. Oh. Here. What will be wrong with this little part? Yeah, because we're talking about the specific recipe for the dish that you've just mentioned. So as we've already mentioned the dish, then we're going to talk about the specific recipe for this dish. Apart from that, really nice. We've covered I'm having a party. We're covered, we're preparing food. And we've covered the recipe. Okay, so good job. So we've got our purpose statements done. So now we move on to our bullet points. So tell your friend why you are having the party. So what kind of information can we have here? So when we're planning before we actually write, what kind of things could we jot down here? Yeah, reason. So anytime we see why, we want to be thinking about reasons. Reason for the party. Jonas gave us an idea, got promoted. What else could we have? Housewarming. Let's have one more. Birthday, okay. One word, sorry. So, got promoted to housewarming birthday. So obviously, any reason for the party is going to be fine. So we have to write between 45 and 55 words. Which one of these would we like to choose? Lucy also mentioned a graduation. Also fine. Aha, Trinidad says, yeah, which is easy to develop. So what you're going to be able to talk about. So I would say probably to write about 50 words. How many sentences do you think? Yeah, around 3 to 4, I think, to be safe. So got promoted. What can we talk about from if we're getting promoted? Can we develop this easily? Yeah, so got promoted. We could talk about the new job. More money. Responsibilities. These are some things we could talk about if we have got promoted. Housewarming, easy to develop. Yeah. So if we're moving house, what kind of things could we talk about? Maybe we could talk about the location. We can describe the new house. The neighbors. So all of this we can include. So I think that's pretty easy to develop. Lucy was saying, yeah, you can mention that my parents can stay with us now. Like, yeah, the space, who can live with you. Birthday. Maybe what you usually do for birthdays. Yeah, Nabila was saying special number, special age. So these are the same things. And graduation, we could talk about the course, future plans, grade. So I think all of these are fairly easy. I would say the birthday is maybe a slightly more difficult one to develop. So I'm going to say we're going to get rid of this one because it looks slightly more difficult. And again, this is just my personal taste. Which of these do we think is going to be easiest to develop? So for Trinidad, he says getting promoted. Okay. Nabila thinks getting promoted. Lucy says getting promoted. Okay. So let's go with getting promoted. So again, this is going to take my students a little bit of time because they're going to need to write a few sentences. So let's try and, for this class, a maximum of 3 sentences, guys. Okay. So we don't take too long and we can get through everything. So we're going to say 3 sentences about getting promoted. You're going to talk about your new job, more money, responsibilities, or any other thing you can think about to develop this. And make sure we directly answer the question, which is, tell your friend why you're having the party. So I'm having the party because. So for me, this would be the start. For sentence 1, we've got already. So we need 2 more sentences. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or 3 more sentences on top. Sorry. That gives us 10 words. Our first sentence is 10 words. Wow, great job. Trinath has got his paragraph ready. So I'm organizing this party because I got promoted to manager. So this is a bit of a weird expression here. Can either Lucy or Nabila tell me a better expression here? Yeah, promoted as a manager would be a little bit better here, Trinath. Or you could say maybe promoted to a managerial position. I think this is probably the most natural expression here. So I'm organizing this party because I got promoted to a managerial position. I invited all my team members. Excellent. So you said who you've invited. That's a really nice way of dealing with this. Invited all my team members as they were supporting me throughout the project. And we successfully completed it within the deadline. Even my salary increased. At the same time, responsibilities at work also increased. So here it's a little confusing. So here you're talking about you got promoted to managerial position. But here, my team members supported me through the project. So what project? It doesn't seem that this, at the moment, and this are connected. So how could I connect them? I could maybe talk about the reason I got promoted. So I'm organizing this party because I got promoted to a managerial position of my work. Sorry. On my last project. Now we know what this project is. So things connect together. There's a bit more cohesion. So I invited all my team members as they were supporting me throughout the project. Okay. We put a comma here because we've got coordinated conjunction. And we successfully completed it within the deadline. Here, this is all talking about your project, yeah? So this is really the end of an idea. So what should we do at the end of an idea? Period, exactly, full stop. We've written complex sentences. So something we do want to be making sure is that we've got complex sentences. We've got a complex sentence here. So we've got 2 types of clauses. We've got 2 types of clauses. It's a compound complex sentence. That's fine. How can I use a cohesive device? We never want to start a sentence with and. So you never start a sentence with a coordinated conjunction. Moreover, and additionally, are both very, very formal. So also, yep. A nice thing, expression, I think, for informal letters is what's more. So this is a lovely informal additional cohesive device. What's more, even my salary increased. But at the same time, here we'll be talking about your responsibilities. So you need the possessive here. At the same time, my responsibilities, spelling mistake, at work also increase. Here, I think it would be maybe a little bit more natural to say have increased, because it started in the past, it's affecting you now. So we would use the present perfect here. Ooh, and have, sorry, should be going before also. Also goes in between auxiliary verbs and main verbs. So if you're using also and you have auxiliary verbs, make sure your also goes between auxiliary verb and main verb. Okay, so that was nice, well done. Let me duplicate this, get a bit of room. Have a look at our next one. Thank you, Lucy. Okay, I'm doing this because I just got promoted as a senior engineer a couple of days ago. Excellent. I'll be in charge of a new project and I'll start to work on it in September. Excellent. Also, my boss gave me a 15% raise. I'm over the moon. Lovely. We've got this nice informal collocation. Oh, you missed a contraction. Aha. We've got one here. Well spotted, Lucy. Now, even for me as a native speaker, it is very easy to miss contractions. So what should we do to make sure we don't do this? Or if we do it, how can we make sure we correct it? Trinath, recheck, yeah, proofread your work. Make sure after when you're writing, I would do it after every paragraph. Finish your paragraph, and for informal letters especially, this should be on your mind. Yeah, get in the habit, it's part of your process. Check for contractions. So, okay, write it, I've done it, I'm going to read it again, and I'm looking for contractions. So that's the only thing you're checking your work for. You're not checking it for grammar, you're not checking it for vocabulary, check it for contractions. That's going to help you pick out these little mistakes. Apart from that, Lucy, I thought you did a really good job, so well done. And Nabila. Excellent, thank you. So I'm having the party because I got promoted at work. Excellent. Now, I'm in charge of the tourism department, and that requires more time and responsibilities, but I'm excited about it. Great. I'll start working on the new position in 2 weeks, so I still have some time to finish my things in my actual position. Great. Rather than actual position, if you're talking about a position that you have now, do you know a common collocation for this? Yeah, Trinath, that's right. Current position is a much more natural collocation here. Apart from that, the tone is really accurate throughout. So we're using I'm, and we've got the contractions. Nicely written. We can see here, this definitely between 45, 55 words. So good job, well developed. So far, 3 really good bullet point paragraphs. Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to designate a writer for each of our bullet points. So I'm going to say for this one is explain what dish you want to cook and ask your friend for the recipe. So we're going to put Trineth and Nabila on this one, and Lucy is going to have the third bullet point. And then we're going to have time to look at everyone's. Okay, but before we do that, let's have a look at some ways of developing it. So it says, explain what dish you want to cook and ask your friend for the recipe. So what kind of information are we going to think about here? So the first part's going to be pretty easy. Explain what dish you want to cook. Yeah, name of dish. Right. We could maybe say, Kenneth had done this before in his purpose statement, maybe where it's come from. So like name of dish and then like that you cooked last year for my birthday. So something like this. Maybe you've had a special occasion, so we could include that in there. Asking our friend for the recipe. Good, Trina says number of guests. Yes, so that's going to affect quantities. Maybe showing that it's a special request. Okay. Ingredients. Maybe I know you. Recipe. Something like this. Oh, turn out that's really nice. Yeah. Tried it, but failed in past. So these are some ideas definitely that we could be using. So as I said, I'm going to throw this over to Trineth and Nabila to do this one. And then Lucy, I'm going to put you on bullet point 3, if that's okay. So we have time to cover everything. And again, if you're at home, try using these ideas that we've just come up with, or your own ideas to write your bullet point. And remember, when you're taking notes like we just came up with there, for your notes, they don't have to be in full sentences. Your notes should be in shorthand, just a word or two to help you think about the ideas that you're going to write about in your actual bullet points. Excellent. We've got one from Nabila here that we're going to have a look at. So explain what dish you want to cook. So I'd like to prepare the Italian pasta you cooked last year for your birthday. Excellent. So the dishes are very clear. Ask your friend. I know you don't like to share the recipe, but I'm asking this because it is a very special occasion for me. I promise I won't share it with anyone else. Could you also send me the ingredients for the sauce? Wonderful. Okay, let's then do the check. So contractions are good. Contractions good. Contractions good. Oh, contraction here. Because it's a very special occasion for me. I won't share it with anyone. Contraction is good. Could you also send me the ingredients for the sauce? No contraction set. So really important to get into this habit of doing a contraction check for informal letters, okay? Apart from that, really well written, Nabila. Well done. And then we're just waiting for Trinath. I'll make a new slide to get ready for Trinath's bullet point paragraph. Okay, so I'd like to cook chicken curry for the guests. I need your help for recipe. Okay, so you're explaining what it is. I know you don't like sharing your recipes, but it'd be great if you could help me because it is for a special occasion. So here we're talking about occasion. Occasions here are countable. A very special occasion. Here we need a comma because we've got coordinated conjunction. I tried it yesterday, but I failed to recreate the exact taste. Excellent. So really well developed. Now we're going to go through and do a contractions check. Contraction good. Not needed, not needed. Contraction good. Not needed. Contraction. So we got our contraction there. I tried it yesterday. I found no contractions needed. Okay, so we've gone through. Everything's good. Contractions are good. Well done. Very nicely developed. Okay, so all the pressure is now on Lucy. But we're going to help before Lucy has to write. Invite your friend to the party. But what kind of things could we write about here? Oh, Lucy has got the paragraph already. Look at this. Actually, before we do that, I just want to brainstorm the ideas, and then we'll have a look at what Lucy came up with. So thank you very much, Lucy, for having this written already. So for Trinath and Nabila, what other ideas could we maybe brainstorm here? Yeah, it would be great if you could come. And again, like I said, we're writing notes. So for me, this is where text speak comes in. Great if you come. Things like this. Remember, if you're writing notes, lovely to see you. Maybe we give a reason. You haven't seen them for a long time. Yeah, Trinath says it's been ages. So maybe someone to meet. Share with you. Maybe a reason why I'd like to share with you. I want to share this for you because you encouraged me while I've been working. There are all these kind of things that would be a nice way to develop this inviting your friend. Okay, so instead of just going, I want to invite you to the party, we have all these extra ideas that we could develop. So now let's have a look at how Lucy went on about this. So nice, we started with a question. That's a nice way of doing it. Why don't you come to the party? I'm saying this because we haven't seen each other for ages because of this pandemic. Great. I'm thinking we can do some catch up. This expression, I love the fact you're using catch up. It's really nice. It's informal. We're using phrasal verbs, which is great. It's slightly awkward to do some catch up. What would be more natural? Okay, so the way we would express this is simply, I'm thinking we can catch up. Okay, so this would be the nicest way to do this. Jonathan mentioned that thinking to catch up, again, would be too awkward. So I'm thinking we can catch up, or I'd like to catch up to see how we're doing. Not see how I'm thinking we can catch up. It's not to see how we're doing, because we know how I'm doing. Here it'd be to see how you are doing. I bet you'll have lots of fun. Okay, good. Is this long enough? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 5, 6, 7, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 5, 6, 7, 38, 39, 40, 40. Okay, so it looks about right. And yeah, Jonas has spotted it. Now we do the contractions check. Why don't? Contraction here is good. I am, contraction. I'm saying this because we haven't seen each other. Contraction good. Contraction good. Contraction good. Contraction good. Okay. And notice, I think the level of the 3 students we have here today is pretty high. I think they're all writing pretty consistently about bad 7s. But almost every sentence we've seen so far had a contraction mistake. So each one of those contraction mistakes would limit these students to a band 6 for task response. So it's so important, once we've written these paragraphs, to go through and check for contractions. Okay, I can't stress this enough. It's so sad as an examiner when you're reading and you're like, oh, it's such a well-written letter, and someone's missed a contraction and you have to give a band 6. But there's nothing the examiner can do. They have to follow the rules. So make sure you go and make these contraction checks after your paragraphs. Apart from that, all good, well done. Final part, sign off. Yeah, all the best. See you soon. Hope you can make it. Maybe you've just made a invitation. Wishes. All of these, very nice. And we're going to have commas after them. So up to you. And then for the name, whichever one you want, just as long as it's your first name. Something I've seen people do sometimes is don't put a surname. So Smith, Jones, these are surnames. So don't just write one name, but it's a surname, because that also would be inaccurate tone. So we want first names. Okay. You can use your own first name, or if you feel more comfortable using a short English name, choose one that's easy to spell. Okay. Yeah, Lucy was saying Ray, super easy to spell. Yeah. So make your life easy. And that's it. And basically, if we took a section from here, so going through our essay. So where are we? We got Dear John. Choose one of these. Bullet point 1, absolutely fine. All of our bullet points were really well written. Bullet point 2, bullet point 3, and our sign off. So we put all that together, and you have a Band 9 letter. And that's how you write a Band 9 general training, task 1, informal letter. Okay, so you can put them together and you will have a compilation of a Band 9 essay there. So great job, really well done to everyone who was writing. You notice also that this is literally a Band 9 letter. We weren't using super complex language. We're not trying to be overly complicated. We're using a nice mix of complex, compound, complex sentences. That's all you need to do. Keep it simple, keep it clear, and especially if you're only looking for a Band 7, but always check for contractions in informal letters, because it's what catches out the best students. It's the one place. So you're like, why am I not getting the score I should be getting? These letters are easy. It's because you're probably making contraction errors. Thank you very much to everyone who came along today. Some great work from my students. I appreciate it. If you're watching this at home going, oh, but they're really good. They are very good. They're all very close to their exams. And they should be feeling very confident about the way they write. Please like this video if you found it useful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And good luck to everyone in your exam preparation.